Okay, so we've now had 3 races and it's time to get serious. So far, the best result we've had is 5th in the Federation, thanks to Charlie Wolf's 1-year-old bird. I feel like these boys are starting to look really good now and we've got high hopes for the remainder of the year. This one, the love child of Charlie's Angel and my fastest bird 1998, has been second back to the Loft in every race so far. One of the things I like about pigeon racing is the necessity of getting outside. After a long day working indoors with the jarring noise of machinery, finding a quiet spot in the countryside on a warm sunny evening to train the birds means the birds get to fly and I get to rest my ears and soak up the view.
Mastered the door yet, have you?
And from the genius of the old birds who can literally find their way home from anywhere, we turn to this year's young birds who struggle to walk through an open door.
If I open that door, will you go in it? No! Look, there's food in there.
So we have to get creative.
Yes, that's 2. It's like a letterbox. Or a parcel box. Come on. There you go. Come on. You scrawny looking thing. Come on. Yes, there we go.
Because racing pigeons need training and my hens spent the winter sitting in the loft laying eggs, they weren't all ready to send to the short races, which helps them ease into the longer races later in the year. So today I could only send half of them.
Hens, got 8 pretty good hens to go. I say pretty good, feel good. Come on ladies. Oops, sorry.
The next day I was feeling confident despite the east wind that had been forecast, which would ordinarily blow my race team over to the other side of the county. And with the warm weather, little Jasper emerged to pitch his chair ready for the main event.
Right, 10 past 11. I thought Charlie would have been here by now. Breakfast 8, 9, 10, 11. The birds will be here in a minute. I better get the dropper ready. It's really, really warm, Jazz. How warm was it going to be today, do you know? 24. And which way is the wind coming from? Oh, it's absolutely glorious. Here he is. No, not yet, Charlie. Not yet.
Bus stops at 11.
Have a seat, Charlie. It's very warm today. Do you want to drink?
Yeah,
I'll get one in a minute. I'll get all the coxer away, other than one.
The reason for my newfound confidence was down to some extracurricular training myself and Archie had been undertaking after school, where Archie was keen to tell me all the playground gossip.
How many girls have you kissed?
0.
We're going to let the hens go. This is midweek toss. What day is it today, Arch?
Tuesday?
Tuesday, yeah. So we're going to toss the hens and the cocks because it's not long until we start the proper races. We've got the NRCC coming up, which is a bit more of a distance race, and I'd like to send some hens to that. And they're not far off, I don't think, and the cocks aren't far off either, are they? So we had a good race at the weekend. It was only a short one, so we'll keep going, see if we can get these birds into some sort of shape. The southeast is a hard wind.
Back to the race, and just as I was briefly distracted,
How many were there? 2. Just 2? It sounded like a real whoosh.
with Charlie's eyesight clearly requiring attention, we were now on high alert.
There, look, look. Loads of them.
Oh, there they are.
Very low. You see, that must... Who will they be then? Come on. I said I wasn't going to whistle, I was going to leave him to it. Come on. Look at that, you didn't trap.
Fearing he'd flown straight over the sensor pad and through the bob wires, I tore up the garden path in my flip-flops.
Oh, he did. 9, 5, 6, 7. He just went straight in. He about broke the bloody doors. 6, 7. 6, 7. I can't remember, I'll have another look. Bloody hell, I've never seen him trap like that before. He couldn't get in quick enough. Oh, you should have seen it. He about smashed the door in, but he came in so hot. Here we are. I can't help it, I have to. I can't help it. I said I'm going to sit quietly and let them do it, but.
After that rapid trapping, the birds continued to arrive several minutes apart over the next hour. Some were descending from really high, some were skimming the rooftops. All were doing laps, which only served to remind me that next year I must have more dropper birds to encourage the racers to land.
Come on. That's a Belgian. Come on. Come on. Mitchell Brothers hen.
Yeah.
That's what else. The first one was here. When was he here?
Ages ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Where's Mighty?
20 minutes ago.
It's ruined.
It's a day of sport today, isn't it?
It is.
Jasper's football tournament. Pigeon racing. Crunch, are you making some sandwiches?
Doing some sandwiches. Yeah, I'll just do a selection on
Yeah.
a plate and I'll bring them out.
Do you want a sandwich, Charlie? Sandwich?
No, no, no.
We're having one.
No, I'm all right.
We've got 16 on the clock, but I think a couple more didn't time in. So I need to get a bigger pad really, because now that they're trapping so quick, they're literally hitting the pad and in through the bob wires, even with the bob wires down. So they're getting much more comfortable with it. Had a good sweep up. New lime, sand. I'm just going to put some more cold water in for these guys because I think some of them want it. Can add some electrolytes on a hot day like today. We haven't yet had the bird that finished 5th in the Fed last week. He's not back yet. But 1998's back, which is good. Still waiting on 1983, but she's not really raced much this year. So it will be a hard day for her. But I'm hoping to send her to the NRCC in a few weeks. So we're sort of building her up slowly. Anik, we ended up coming first. We're first in the club and we topped the Fed out of 1,428 birds. So I'm going to show you the bird that did it for us. I'll go and get him because he's resting. Where are you, champ? Come on, champ. Here we are. He's got his own box now, so here he is. Okay, so this is a futurity bird, an NRCC futurity bird from last year. He's a yearling. And we bought this from John Lenson, JW Lenson, who is in Sleaford or Spalding, somewhere that way. And I got 2 from him. And the other one that we had was, they were both really nice birds, nice pintails and quite tame to handle. Actually, it's not so tame now, but they were the most tame birds we had. And yes, he was a yearling, and he topped the Fed for us, so I was really happy with him. And he came home so fast. You see on the video, he just he hit that trap so fast, didn't he, that he just ploughed through it. I think he caught himself out. I don't think your legs were working properly, were they? Yeah, so here he is. He's a yearling, a John Lenson bird, pigeon, and yeah, he was 11 yards ahead in the race, so we were really, really happy with that. And he's just a lovely bird, aren't you? You're a lovely bird. So we're not going to race him this weekend. He's having a weekend off because he raced last weekend from Dunbar, or did he go to Berwick? I think he went to. Did he go to Berwick last weekend? Yeah. No, I think he went to Dunbar. Anyway, he went to one of them. And so he's going to have a weekend off, and then we're going to send him to
Perth, I think, and then that'll probably be him done for the year. We won't send him any further than that. We might send him some more fed races after that, but we won't go any further than Perth, I don't think, this year. But yeah, I was really happy with him. So you've done a good job, haven't you, mate? So that's him. We'll put him away. Good lad. The other thing I wanted to talk about is on the Facebook group. So if you're not a member of the Facebook group yet, it's How to Train Your Pigeon on Facebook. There's 3 questions or 4 questions. You have to answer them all, because I've just put those questions in just so we don't get loads of spammers. But what I've noticed is a lot of people that are starting out in pigeons, like me, are asking the same question. What do you do with young birds? How do you get your young birds to fly? And so I thought I'd do a quick explanation as to what I do. And this is basically what other people have told me. So it's not the best way necessarily, but it works for me. And that is, you never let these birds out if they're not hungry. So they have to be hungry. So these were fed yesterday afternoon. I definitely wouldn't let them out this morning. I will let them out this afternoon. And if they were really young and they'd never been out before, or they'd only been out a few times, then I'd give them like a half feed the day before I go to let them out, if that makes sense. So you wouldn't feed them up, give them loads of food, and then the next morning let them out, because they'll come out, they'll fly off, and they've got no interest in going back into the loft, because they just want to play and sit on the roof or on the garden or on top of there. Charlie suggested to me, he said, put some wire up, because what they'll do is they'll come out of here and then they'll just jump onto the roof of the loft, or when they're coming into land, they'll always land on the roof rather than on your landing board or on top of the aviary. So I put those up, and actually I did it on there, and on the first loft I built, and that worked really well. Some of them still go over there, and then you cut these little holes in. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but you cut these little holes in, because sometimes they'll land on the loft but they won't know how to get back through. They won't think, oh, I can fly over that. They'll just keep pacing up and down trying to get through. So you make a few little cuts in their holes, and then they can come back down. If you've got really young birds and they've never been out before, then once you've weaned them, you'll leave them in the loft for a few days, get them used to it, making sure that they're eating and drinking. And then the first time you let them out, what a lot of people do is they'll put like a cage over the aviary, like a settling cage, or on top of the loft, so that they can't fly off. It's just like this stuff basically, but you'll build like a cage out of it. I haven't done that because I've got aviaries, and so what I do is I just let them out into the aviary. They'll sit like this all day, looking out at where they live, and looking at the garden, so they know that this is home. And then when I do let them out, I'll open this, open that, I'll open the trap, I'll also open the door around the side, so some of them will just come outside the door and just let them wander about a little bit. But only do that, like I say, when they're hungry. And you've got to do that before they're too strong on the wing, which basically means do that while they've still got bits of yellow down in their feathers, and they're still young, because then that way they won't be able to fly away too far.
What's this?
This
pole here.
This pole, this is so that when I'm basketing them up, because we've got like 40 young birds, trying to pick them all up and catch them every day is a nightmare. Mine aren't tame enough for me to just to catch. So what I do is I open this like that. This is the same level, and then I'll put the basket up against it, and then I sort of shoo them all into the aviary, shoo them all into here, and then I slide the basket down. I'll do a video on it, actually, a full video of it. I think that'd be worth doing, wouldn't it? And it's just handy to have, and then that way you fill that basket up, move it, and then fill the next basket up. And it's just an easier way of catching them all.
The aviaries need a scrape out.
The aviaries do need a scrape, yeah. I'm tempted to get rid of this method, actually, because you end up with all this mess. A few people have commented and said you need a tray underneath, but I think I'm actually just going to get rid of this and just put a solid floor in that I can scrape easily, because you don't get wet, you don't get rained on, and I'll be able to scrape it just as often as I do the floors, which I don't actually scrape in there. But yeah, just for letting your young birds out, make sure they're hungry. And what Archie, who is today's cameraman, does, we whistle, don't we, Arch? And we shake the tin. Every time you feed them, every time, you pour it in, you make a noise, make a racket, let them hear the seeds hit the tray, the feeding trough, and you whistle, and you shake the tin. And then they learn that every time they hear that whistle and every time you shake that tin, they learn that it's food time. So when they come out here in the afternoon, because you haven't fed them since the day before and you only fed them half,
They'll come out, they'll have a look, they'll wander about. Some of them won't want to come out because they're hungry and they see you and they think, oh, he's going to feed me now. No, get out and fly. And then you let them out, they have a bit of a fly. And then when you shake the tin, whistle, they should come rushing back in. What I do as well, I don't know if you can see this, Arch, try and see this. These bob wires, they move like that. What you can do is tie them up. So the first time you let them out, if you want to get them through there, is just move the bob wires out of the way. So they're just used to going through that hole. And then over time, just drop 1 or 2 of the bob wires. Just tie every other one up out of the way. And then once they're a bit more confident, then you can leave them all down. And that works really, really well. Here's our cameraman. Off to school today, aren't you?
Yeah. My brother's not though.
It's such a div. This is depurative and some remnants of young bird. But if your birds aren't flying, then a lot of people say you should feed them depurative, and you don't do it exclusively, but depurative, if they're too heavy, if you pick them up, young birds, and they're not flying, give them depurative for a few days, at least 50-50 or just depurative, and that should get them flying. It works for me. Are you going to eat it? You're a weird child.
These aren't that hard to...
It's time to send the pigeons off to another country, Scotland to be precise, so for this race I had some team selection to do.
Right, so now I've got to write down my entries for the NRCC Dunbar race. And for that, I'm going to be using the spreadsheet that I've put together with the results so far this year, looking for the birds that are on form, and then I'll go and check them. We've got to somehow try and get cocks excited for the NRCC Dunbar race without overexciting the cocks for the Fed race at Berwick. They're all sharing the same loft. He won the section last year, but I'm not going to send him because I want to send him to one later on, so I'd like to wait a bit longer before I send him to a race where I might potentially lose him, or more likely to. But they know when I come in and start opening up their boxes and turning over their bowls.
The cocks don't see the hens at all during the week because they're on the widowhood system. Now they get a brief 10 minutes with their girlfriends.
We'll sort you out later, okay? You guys can go to Berwick. You guys are going to Scotland. Expect to see you back tomorrow. Sharpish. Here I've got the 7 cocks that we're going to be sending to Dunbar, which is just over 200 miles. Tomorrow is meant to be a north wind with a bit of east in it potentially. Then in Dunbar it's meant to be clear, but here it's going to be cloudy like this, I think, pretty much most of the day. So hopefully they'll get them away. I've only got 1 2-year-old going to Dunbar this time, and that's 1986 because he's the only one that I feel needs it. The others aren't quite ready. It's a bit tricky because the birds fan out all over the country, and I don't really want to send the 2-year-olds unless I know that they're ready. Whereas the yearlings have been flying much better so far for the first half of the year, so I'm going to send 6 of those. One of them, he's got to go because he's being lazy around the loft. But he comes all right on race days, so I'm going to see what he does. We've got the Fed topper from last week. He's going. He won the Fed from Anik, and we've got the bird that came 5th. So the Fed topper was John Lenson's bird, a futurity bird from last year as a yearling, and then we've also got Charlie's bird, which came 5th in the Fed the week before, but albeit from a shorter distance, Weatherby. And then there's a couple of others. We've got 77, which is 1998 and 1983, their love child.
Dressed as Postman Pat, I had to deliver the team of 8 the 10-mile drive to the marking station down the road in Calverton. The birds have been let go from Lerwick. They're not flying from Lerwick. The birds have been let go from Berwick at 11:10. It's a light northeast. And then the birds from Dunbar have been let go at 11:45, and they're about 20 miles, I think, a bit further up the coast. I'm going to have a quick tidy up because the place is a bit of a mess. And then get the clock ready, get all these birds sorted out. It's another lovely day in England. I started keeping racing pigeons because I wanted a reason to spend more time outside in my garden without the gardening. However, by filming it all, thousands of people are now able to cast judgment on the state of my lawn. Luckily, it's become a not too tedious job keeping it trim on race days.
scoop of that, just about half, should do it. Can you whistle? You'll have to go in and start pouring it into the troughs to encourage them in.
Whilst the focus has obviously been on the widowhood cocks, the previous day I was showing Archie how to get on with calling in the young birds from their first adventures outside, with varying levels of success.
They'll start coming back out because they can hear you shaking. So they'll want to come back out. And yeah, that's it, right. Don't shake it and just go from there. Come on.
Yes, come on, you do the same thing.
It's working, you've got to keep encouraging it. Come on. He's looking in.
And it's comforting to know that after 3 years we finally mastered the art of getting young birds to trap, as we demonstrate here with our perfectly obedient and speedy young pigeons that trap in double quick time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Get it, go on, get in.
Come on. Shoom.
Is it in?
Yeah. We'll have a cup of tea. Do you want a cup of tea? You want to eat seeds?
What? Are they edible?
Are they edible?
And just like teenagers, these adolescents were coming home only when they felt like it.
There's a landing board that I built specially.
We need to paint it white, I told you.
Paint it white or yellow. Stand out here forever. Trying to get me. Come on. Right. I'll start doing these then.
What's this one?
Tick bean or tick pea? Tick pea.
Don't like those.
I will not have it said that we don't feed our kids. Good boy. He looks very happy about that, doesn't he?
Where should I put them?
Up by the loft. Yeah, I'll give that one.
My back hurts.
Grab the other one. Your back hurts?
Yeah. Oh.
Go on, you baby. Go and grab the other one.
No, literally.
Berwick. Is 180 miles. Dunbar is 201. If I turn my jet that way, I should get a good view of them coming in. Unless they're coming from that side. Oh, this is beautiful. This is what you're meant to do on a Saturday morning. In the garden, a bit of sunshine, and juice. Wait for the hard work to pay off. Or not. Oh, what's my heart rate say? 81 beats per minute. Let's see if that goes up.
Just like all good pigeon men have an excuse as to why their birds are late, just a mile away on the line of flight, this was happening. A wartime reenactment with the loudest bird scarers Dad's army could possibly muster. I filmed this on the second day of the show and it explained why my Dunbar birds came over the neighbour's hedge. The first 3 Berwick birds came in not too speedily, and unfortunately, thanks to Captain Mannering and his home guard, all of the Dunbar birds hopped over the hedge at the side of the loft, completely out of view of where I'd set the camera.
Got to log in to verify my time. And you used to do this over the phone, but I prefer the fact that you can do this online. But it's asking for hours, minutes and seconds, and I'm not sure if that's how many hours, minutes and seconds it's taken to fly, or the hours, minutes and seconds
that it arrived. Charlie says it's the hours, minutes and seconds that it arrived, and I think that's what I did last year, but it's a bit ambiguous, so I don't want to get it wrong. 15:34:09 is what time it arrived. And that's Charlie's bird, the one that came 5th in the Fed 2 weeks ago. And it came from right over there, which I've never had a bird come through there before. In fact, I don't think the camera would even pick it up. So it's been dragged over there it's not broken early enough. It should have broken sooner. So, time's it now? 10:48. So they've been up for 3 hours and 18 minutes, nearly 19 minutes. And it's so windy today.
3 3/4 hours. What's that on your phone?
It's been a really, really windy day today, and we've managed to get 7 of the 10 birds back from NRCC Perth. And the first bird was 10 minutes ahead of the others. I didn't get all the cameras out today because the weather's a bit grotty, and we've got another race tomorrow, so I've got quite a lot to do today. So I did just put the DJI on top of the this little camera. I put that on top of the Loft, and so we did get them coming back. But whether they're fast enough, I'm not sure. It took 4 hours, 3 minutes and 25 seconds. So I was hoping they'd be a little bit quicker, because really, really strong wind coming from the north. But there is quite a bit of easterly in it, so they're blowing them over that side. Not perfect, but you know, we shall see how we do. However, last Dunbar, the last race that we entered was the NRCC North Road Championship Club from Dunbar, and we got 2nd section in that, and I think we got 4th and 5th as well in the section, and 28th open. I'm going to double check that, but still a pretty good result. And that was with Charlie's bird, again the one that came 5th in the Fed about a month ago. That was 2nd section, so that's turned out to be quite a good bird. Today's race, 1989, another one of Charlie's birds, came first for us in our Loft, so we'll see where it does in the overall competition. And then our 2nd bird back was also the bird that was 2nd in the Fed, 2nd in the section for Dunbar. I need to start giving them names, don't I? Make it a little bit more clear what I'm talking about. But here's the bus going. Charlie's just left. Right, so a bit of an update. We have got 8 out of the 10 back so far. Annoyingly, the bird that Charlie picked out for sending to Lerwick this year, still not back, 1986. He's normally 5th or 6th bird back every week. Never up the top, never really far behind. But he's not back yet, and it's been 5 hours. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 5.5 hours. Just more. And the other one we're missing is... Archie's bird, Archie's Belgian bird. So they're the 2 missing so far, S06141. So hopefully those 2 will make it back today. It's a really tough day actually, although it's been a tailwind, been very fast, very, very cloudy, and it's been blowing them over that side to the west of the country. But the first bird back, it looks like 1989, it's got a decent time so far. So we shall see where he comes in the NRCC, but the provisional results so far, there's only 20 on there, and we're the fastest section B so far. But I had to phone them in because I couldn't get the app to work. Every time I tried to log in the app, every time I logged in on the website, it said no race selected or something or other, some error message. So I phoned it in, and I imagine it would take a little bit longer for that to get put on the site. So they're the ones we're missing. This is Archie's handwriting. So our bird back, 1989 was the first bird back. We go again tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll be sending the hens and 6 cocks. Got 6 cocks to go, and 12 hens. So busy weekend, just pigeon racing, flat out.
Put these peanuts in my pocket, you can have them later.
We're now halfway through the old bird racing season, and so far things have been going pretty well.
Ew! All over my legs.
This weekend, the race is from Hexham in Northumberland, 120 miles away.
Right, let's turn your bowls over.
Pigeon racing in Europe is split into 2 seasons. The first is old bird racing, and is basically any bird 1 year old or over.
Gentlemen, it'll soon be party time.
This is followed by the young bird season in mid to late summer. For this old bird season, I've been racing the widowhood system, which means everything is organised to help the boys, much to Helen Lewis's annoyance, and I'm pretty happy with it. It means that, other than a few test cases, the hens stay at home on the weekends, ready to greet the cocks when they return back from the race. The theory being that the cocks will race faster if they know their hen is waiting for them at home. To get the cocks ready for basketing, I turn their nest bowls over in their individual boxes. They see this as a sign of the imminent arrival of their partners. I let them settle down for 5 minutes before letting the hens
This is
in.
what happens when you leave the hens to just sort of mix together. They pair up in the corner and they start building nests out of whatever they can get their hands on. And that's because I've got these V-perchers, but they can see each other on the V-perchers, and they just, you know, turn into lesbians, don't they? So I'll do something about that next season.
I shut them in together, but I don't let them tread or mate. And when they're calm, I remove the cocks and put them in the basket. The 2-year-olds understand the drill by now, and that when they're released from the race point, some 160 kilometres away, they'll know that to get home quickly means they'll have longer with their hens. Every Friday night, I, along with everyone else, would take their team of racers to the club, where they'll be entered into the race. Their individual life rings are checked against their microchip, or ETS ring, that's on their leg, before they're placed into big crates, ready to be loaded onto the transporter that drives around the county, stopping off at all the different clubs to pick up their pigeons. In our club, everyone helps basket the birds, and the whole thing is done in less than an hour, so we can get across to the White Hart for a quick pint. As a newcomer, basketing at the club is a great opportunity to feel the weight and condition of the other members' birds, and if you have some top flyers in your club, it gives you some idea of what you're aiming for. Unfortunately, as a newcomer, you'll also feel the inevitable imposter syndrome, as you know full well those guys with decades of flying experience will be judging your birds in their hands too. If you're lucky, you'll get a few tips or words of wisdom to help you improve. Alternatively, we'll talk about football or the cricket.
England fought back a bit in cricket, didn't they?
I thought you said they'd been knocked out.
No, it was going to be rained off.
Yeah,
and then managed to get it in at
yeah,
like 9:15.
I saw it.
I said that West Indian game.
Oh, they
Not them off.
kept the South African that 158, was it? Something like that.
I'm always conscious not to sound melodramatic about the decline of racing pigeons. But on a midsummer evening like this, in a rickety old shed, talking pigeons and sport with the pigeon men of Ollerton, I wonder how long this pastime can continue the way it is. So I make a deliberate effort to capture what I can, both on camera and in my own memory. so people can see what this sport is really like. And I hope people in the future make the jump into building their own team of racing pigeons and join a club like this. This morning, my mate Charlie couldn't make the race, so Jasper, 80 years his junior, said he would take his place for a cup of tea and some biscuits. He even went the extra mile with the hat too, and tried the accent.
Sit down. Oh my God, Jazz. What have you done to your fingers?
Measure really quickly. Go on, sec. Don't call these ones in the tea.
Well, it's very cloudy. Sit back.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Sit right back. Get your feet off the ground, you see. There you go.
Oh yes, I'll do on tea, shall we, mate? So I'll do on tea, shall we, mate?
So, you can use the binoculars if you like. Spot where the birds are, see if you can see them coming. Or also if you can see any falcons or...
Rufus. What is it, boy? What is it?
Probably the postman.
With ample time until the birds were due, I decided to set the camera up ready to capture their return. Luckily, just in time, as the first bird landed.
Come on. Come on. Come on. I was not expecting you. Christ. 11 o'clock. Well done, guy. Good lad. I expect you for 20 minutes. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Yeah, I was not expecting that. I was just getting the camera ready. I thought, oh, I've got 20 minutes. And I had a flurry, and that's Dave Evans' bird. What time is he on? 1:46. So that's 2 hours, 11 minutes and 46 seconds. Might not be a bad time, that. Let's have a look. Have I got the right bloody... ...128 miles, 523 yards, and that was 10 to 10, 10 to 11, 58 miles an hour. I didn't even see him flying around. Probably could have got him even quicker. I'm glad I had the camera recorded at least. I'm literally just trying to get the camera. I was wondering where to put it, whether I should put it on the top, because whether the sun had shined directly onto the screen and end up frying it. So I was just mucking about with it, and then I heard a flutter. I thought it was a wood pigeon, which means he's flown in with another flock, no doubt, and peeled off from them, so just hopefully. Here we are. Come on. He was first last week. He was our first bird last week. Another one? Nope, that's a house martin. And a sparrowhawk. Ah, there's too much stuff going off. I'm sorry, we haven't got to use you today, have we? I've not seen the birds come. They must be low. One of the things I really enjoy about this is when you see them high and then you get to watch them tuck their wings in and come down, but certain days and certain lines that they come in on, like this, they're behind the trees or behind the houses, I don't get to see it. They just arrive, they just appear. It's a different kind of excitement, I guess, but I do prefer it when I can see them. Belgian bird. Come on. Come on. Did you both clock then? Yeah. Right, so birds are all in. No, they're not. 3 of them are still out. 2 of them are still out because 1 or 2 didn't clock. And I'm going to go and watch Archie play football now because he's got a tournament. So Carenza, you're going to do the clocks for the first time, aren't you?
I am.
So she'll keep you updated.
Alright guys, so we're just heading to do the clocks now.
Daddy's gone to watch Archie play football, hasn't he? So it's our job today.
Yep. So, but the bad thing is, Mummy's not really used to driving the van, so give her a good look, she won't crash. Right, so, see ya.
So we sent 14 birds to the race. We clocked 11. There was actually 12 in race time, really, because one of them didn't register when it went across the ETS pad. And our first bird is 9th in the club and 9th federation, which is pretty good out of 1,025 birds. And what's the distance? It was something like we were 128 miles. So it's pretty good when you consider the company that we're keeping. There's some top flyers in this club, so I'm pretty happy with that performance.
Summer is teasing its arrival, but the wind has certainly arrived. And now there are longer races to compete in. I'm taking all the old bird team on a final training toss before the weekend's races, both of which are from Scotland. I'm tossing the birds in smaller groups in the hope this gives them confidence to fly straight home when they inevitably find themselves separated from the flock during the hundreds of miles they'll be covering in the coming days.
It's a big day today because I am basketing the 2 birds that I picked out for Lerwick, and I'll show you them now. Quite tricky to get them set up because we've obviously got them all on widowhood, all the cocks. I've picked 2 birds. Well, I haven't. Charlie's helped me, and I'm going to ask him to explain why we've chosen these 2 birds. So these are the hens that they're paired up to. This is Ryan, not Brian, and this is one of the Mitchell brothers' hens, and X14899, you can see him there, look. That's, I just wrote his name, his number on that box. He's always lived in that box. So far, he's never done anything special. He always comes back, except for one race, he came back 2 weeks later this season. But he's since been going off to the longer races that we've had. And then we've got 1986, which is the one that Charlie picked out. And the reason he's picked those 2 out is because they're both nest mates. I think he got the grandsire and the granddam from a Loft that had previously won the King's Cup from Lerwick. So they're the 2 birds that he gave me that are more for that kind of distance, which would kind of tally with why they're not coming back quickly from the shorter races, but they do always come back at least, even if they have a bad race, which is what happened with X14899. He didn't come back, and then 2 weeks later he rocked up, and he was a bit underweight, but he'd managed to get back, so he'd obviously it got lost or something had happened. So and then we've got 1986, which so far always comes back sort of like middle of the pack, never fast, never really too slow. On a day like today where I'm only sending 2, I don't want to bring all the hens in here, so what I've done is I've put the hens in their box, in the cocks boxes. The cocks are out exercising now, and then when they come in, they can go in there. I've been feeding them in their own individual boxes because they're on a slightly heavier, richer diet. Ideally, I'd love to be able to have like sections where I can treat long distance birds and the short distance birds individually or separately at least. So that might be something I'll look at in the future. But I've got an hour or so to get prepared, and then we'll send them off to Calverton, basket them. Unfortunately, the weather forecast for Lerwick looks horrible. I can't see them getting a liberation. I think they're due to go on Saturday, but it looks like Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday just looks like rain, constant rain, and a constant southwesterly, which isn't the best wind or weather. We're not aiming really. I mean, obviously you want to aim high, but realistically, just getting them back will be a real good result for us. Everybody always says that when they don't want to set themselves up to fail, but I would like to. I'd like to place in a reasonable position, but ultimately the first thing is, can I get them back? Have I fed them right? Have I trained them right? Have I given them the right kind of races? Obviously these two birds didn't go to the race last weekend, but they went to the one before that. So they've had 2 weeks off of racing, and they've been fed differently. They've still been training, and then yeah, I guess the rest is up to motivation, diet, and genetics. That's as much as I can do. Oh, and the weather, obviously. So from everything I've read and from everything everyone's told me, they do lose a lot of weight on these longer races, especially if it goes over 2 days. This is 1986, who so far, as yet, he hasn't performed anything particular. You want to get back and see your hen, don't you? But probably feels a little bit heavy, but I guess that's kind of what you want them to do, how you want them to go for these longer races, especially if they end up. And then we'll go and get 99. Alright, so this is 99. He's a little bit more tame, and he's also a little bit lighter.
Lerwick, and specifically the King's Cup, wasn't a race I expected to do until just a month ago, so I hadn't really had the chance to get excited by it.
Sending off the brothers to Lerwick. Yeah. Right, so the birds went up at 7:35, so we've got to get the pad put out, the ETS clock pad put out, and we think they're going to be back. Charlie reckons they're going to be 3 hours. I reckon 3 hours 20 minutes. It's a west-northwest wind, and we're all in a Stones Brown and Sons Racing Lofts attire. I don't show the washing. And also it doesn't look very good on camera, does it, with your pants on the line. Jasper's made us some what's that, a third cup of milkshake. All the powder's at the bottom, Jazz.
You didn't mix it. Yes, I did.
If you drink it, all the powder's at the...
Yeah, but...
You got to mix it.
Yeah, I did it, man. Still got the taste.
It's actually quite nice.
Yeah, no.
Why did we only get like a third of a cup though?
Because there wasn't much milk.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah,
yeah, that makes sense.
I had to eat some for breakfast. Jazz, but we're getting milk today.
Oh, it's delicious. Okay, today's an important day because it's a championship race. We want to win this race if we can, right? So if the birds get here, we need to be ready. Do you want to catch her, or do you want me to catch her?
Some people like to have a pigeon that doesn't race but lives with the racers. It's called a dropper, and it's supposed to encourage the returning pigeons to land quickly and enter the loft. I only have one, and she's not very good at her job. Nevertheless, I've been keeping her in with the young birds so they get used to her, as young birds tend to be nervous when returning from their races. As usual, she doesn't want to put in a shift at work today.
Close this up. Close the door behind you. Right, we want her. Oh, she's a bugger. She knows exactly what's going on. Come on. Just let us catch you. Just hit you in the face. Right. Got it. Got it. Archie, why are you cowering? Once you've got her, she's so calm.
She just like, one of them, and then that fluttered up and just like tried
face.
Land on, I'm happy.
Right then, Jazz, here's the dropper. Another job for you. Here you go then, sunshine. If you set them up over there by the window, and then we can watch them come in.
But I said last time.
Yeah.
I try to give the kids a role to fulfill on race days, one that's useful but not essential, so as to avoid any frustration should it go awry. Today, Archie is scouting for returning birds and Jasper is responsible for shaking the feed jug when they arrive.
Here's one. Come on. There.
You may remember 2003 was the bird that got ill as a young bird, and I somehow managed to keep the thing alive. He went on to put in a good performance as a yearling, but so far this year he hasn't really been up to much. I haven't bred from him because he got ill as a young bird and his first foster clutch didn't survive, but his performance in this race paid the Loft's feed bill for a couple of months.
Well done, Jazz, heard you shaking. Do they talk to each other? Yep. Oh, blooming out, he's fast. Come on then. Come on. Damn it, doing another lap. Stay still, Jazz. Come on. Blimey. Don't know. Come on. 1989, that's the one that topped the section from Perth, yeah. That's Charlie's. That topped the section at NRCC Perth.
1989 is our second bird back, having topped the section in the North Road Championship Club race from Perth just a few weeks earlier.
12 seconds. 3 hours, 19 minutes and 12 seconds. That's pretty good. From Scotland, it's flown constantly. From Scotland, average 60 mile an hour. That's like the national speed limit. And it's probably flown faster than that because it wouldn't have flown in a perfectly straight line. It would have snaked a little bit, so it would have covered more distance. Come on. Oh, 77, good lad. Yearling. Well, that's 77. He doesn't really look like he's put much work in at all, does he? He's been home for 2 minutes, 3 minutes. So basically, we've got 4 birds back from Dunbar so far. The 2 that we've sent to Lerwick, the Lerwick birds have been held over with the NRCC. So that's 2 days they've been held over. Today's Sunday. These birds, Dunbar, were held over yesterday. So they've been in the crate a bit longer. Due to low cloud and a band of rain over Peterhead running through Scotland, the convoying team have called a holdover at Lerwick.
Whilst the Lerwick birds had been held over, the overcast and miserable skies I could see had me wondering if any more of my birds would be making it back anytime soon.
This isn't very good at all. Four birds in half an hour. Come on. I'm spooking him. I'm spooking him stood where I am. Come on. Come on.
It was definitely a trying day, with the birds coming back in 1s and 2s, which Archie summed up more succinctly.
How many birds have you got back so far?
5 out of 19. It might appear like that wasn't a particularly good race because it was very, very cloudy and the birds were very slow getting back, at least other than the first 2. And but I don't want it to look like I'm complaining really, because so far this old bird season we've had very few losses. Most of the birds have been getting back. Some of them have been getting back a bit later, but they've all been coming back, and I think I've only lost 2. I think I've only lost 2 all season, which isn't bad. However, I have only been racing the cocks. I've sent the occasional hen, 2 or 3 hens, but mostly the cocks. But yeah, I think so far it's not been too bad. And as it happens, for the Notts District North Road Federation Championship race from Dunbar, we ended up coming second and third, so that was pretty good. We were beaten by one quick bird down in Grantham, and we got this. Here we are. There's the speed. Don't know if you can see that. So velocity 1783 and 1771, and that was flying 201 miles, 1500 yards. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that actually. For the lyric birds, they were eventually let go in, they said, light northwest. As far as I could see, it was pretty heavy west winds. In fact, there were birds found on shipping fishing trawlers out in the North Sea, and somebody put a photo of one. So mine came back really late. I think the first one was a few days later, and the second one literally came back 3 weeks later, and I found it inside the young bird loft. Both fine, both had the ETS rings, the phone numbers. They hadn't been in a loft, they just trundled their way back. So not the best performance for those, but they came back. Don't know what that means, because they had a pretty good preparation. They didn't have a race the weekend before. They had a steady race the week before that. They were fed a pretty good diet. They had plenty of fats and protein and carbs. They had a good balanced diet, I would say. And they'd both raced from Scotland before. Obviously Lyric's a different kettle of fish. It is across the sea, and it's 480 something miles, so 180 miles almost, maybe 200 miles further than what they normally race. Could they have done better? I would have liked to have thought so, but it was a very strong west wind for a couple of days when they were liberated and when they raced, so it was pushing them right outside. I expected to find them in Norway or Denmark, but there we are.
I'm halfway through the Youngbird season, that is, racing the pigeons that were born this year, and we started off well, winning the first race and with the first 4 positions in the Federation.
Birds are up 8:40 from Hexham in a light easterly wind. Light easterly. Hey Rufus. Ring Charlie.
We haven't beaten that result since, but today's a new day, so I call Charlie to see if he's coming to see the birds home.
How are we doing, these birds? I think we need to have a tidy up, don't we? Looks like a massacre. Oh. Hi Charlie.
How are you doing?
All right.
What time?
8:40 in a light easterly wind.
I don't think I'll get down.
Okie dokie, yeah, don't worry about it.
Has many gone then?
I don't know, I don't think so. There was only 840 odd last week, so there won't be that many. Today the birds are at Hexham, which is about 128 miles, in a light easterly wind. It's cold now, you can feel it. All the leaves are starting to fall off the trees. It's only just, what is it, September the 1st? No, August the 31st, end of August. And it feels like autumn is pretty much on its way. Summer barely even got started. Anyway, the lofts are looking pretty mucky, so I've got 2 hours. I might as well have a good tidy up and make the place look a little bit more respectable. So that's today's job.
But first, here's your health and safety briefing.
Right, I've changed into my scruffy clothes now. Guessing we're going to have a few new viewers at some point on this channel, so I'll probably go over some of the things that I've already mentioned before. But if you're going to clean your birds out, then especially when they're looking like that with a lot of feather dust, what do they call it, bloom, feather bloom, if you breathe that in, you end up feeling really, really rough the next day or even that night. And I think some people do actually suffer an allergic reaction from it. It can cause them quite some horrible health problems. So get yourself one of these, a dust mask, a decent one as well that goes all the way around. It's worth having. I've used this and I've been in there proper, giving it a really good clean, and I haven't had any trouble. But if I clean them out, sometimes I'll go in and I'll go, oh, this place could do with a bit of clean up, and then I'll do it without this, and I really do feel it that night and the following day. It feels like a cold, almost like flu. So definitely worth doing this. Oh, save your old feed bags and stick all the rubbish and droppings in.
I'm sitting with Michael Landon, and he and his perks came in to be warm. And
Whilst cleaning or driving, I like to keep the pigeon content flowing into my ears. So today I'm scrubbing to the All About Pigeons podcast.
was the bird of peace.
Doing that for a bit.
They were able to remember
Go on,
three
before I tidy up.
different pairings. All I have seen a child look at this bird for the first time.
Oh, I can open the doors.
He has to see his favorite pigeon. They say, "Hi, yeah, the pigeon guys are."
This is why it's worth. Well, runny nose. This is why it's worth having a corridor when you build your loft, so that you can move the birds out of the way while you clean up. I've had to stick them in there with the cocks, which isn't a great thing to do, but you know, it's only for 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes while I just scrape this out, and then I'll do it the other way around, just because I don't want them flapping around, because it just blows everything everywhere. Move the food out of the way. Move the water out the way. Oh man, I'm back. I am actually going to build a new loft when I retire this one. This one was only ever going to be temporary. I've discovered that if you have a job and a family, racing pigeons is really difficult as far as time goes. I need to simplify things so I don't have to spend as much time cleaning. Leave that door open. That doesn't work very well. I think it's important, if you've got a loft, to try and keep it as nice looking as possible, so that when other people see it, they don't think it's a scruffy hobby. Obviously, I'm not doing a very good job so far. There we go. Right, 10 o'clock. Better pull my finger out and get the clock set up. Oh, I need to mow the lawn. So many jobs to do, Rufus, haven't we? Right. So we're all cleared up now. Everything's looking nice and tidy in the old birds. The young birds, I've got some easy bed down, so it's not really that important that I clean them out every time they go to a race. But I've done something different today. I've got the trap at the sensor pad, so when the pigeon lands, it's got a little ring on its leg, and as soon as it goes into the trap, that registers the endpoint of the race for that bird. And there's a little pad underneath there. That follows the RPRA rules, so that once the trap's closed, it can't clock in. However, I've only got a little pad, and sometimes if they go a little bit quick, or if they go sort of to the side, then it doesn't scan them. And then I have to run in and try and find out which one it is that hasn't been scanned. So what I've done, because I'm super smart, is I've put another little pad that I had, because I bought this system secondhand, two pads. I've put one underneath the drinker in this side, so that when they come in, first thing they do is they have a little peck and then they go for a drink. So if I can't catch them, then at least I should be able to get them, I don't know, 30 seconds, a minute later. That's not necessarily to see where they position in the race, but more so I know which ones are back, because sometimes if you don't clock them all, it's just really annoying when you don't know which ones have come back and which ones haven't. So I've got that pad there, so I'm clocking with 2 antennas today, a secondary backup one there, and the first one, the primary, which is in there. All right, I think it's time for a cup of tea. Oh, actually, I am going to get a new clock. This Bricon Speedy, it's so old technology that I can't, if I'm training the birds, I don't know when they've got back, I don't get any messages, or I can't see the records of any races, or where they've come. I have to fill it all in myself, either on a piece of paper or by an Excel sheet. So I think I might look for a new one, whether that be the iPigeon or the what's the other one, iPigeon or Benzing. So if anybody's got any experience with either of those two clocks, then comment, because I'd like to know. A lot of money, but yeah, I've got to make a choice, because this thing, it's like 1980s, isn't it? Right, tea, map. Right, so this is the UK. We are here, and because we race the North Road, that basically means that all our race points are north. Some people race the South Road, which means they race from the south down into France. Today, this is where we are, we're racing from Hexham, which is 128 miles from there to there. Our last race was from Darlington, and we didn't have a very good race. We lost 8 birds from that race, and that's probably because I went on holiday and they had a couple of weeks off. I did train them, but obviously not enough. So not great news for that one.
Annoyingly, the Youngbird season is smack bang in the middle of the school summer holidays, so we spent a week at the Jurassic Coast hunting for fossils and taking pictures of bows. But a 7-day break, coupled with a few bad weather days either side, likely contributed to the 8 lost birds on our first race back.
And it's a southeasterly wind, so it's kind of doing this. We're pushing them over to this side, so it'll probably be one around this area today. The wind's really starting to blow now. Pull my trousers up. I'm losing a bit of weight. I figured that if I'm sending the birds to race 120 miles or 200 miles, I could at least get myself fit. So I went for a run for the first time in a year this week. My bloody knees are hurting. If I've got a fit racing team, I should be fit too. So working on the diet as well.
I had decided not to film the first few Youngbird races because I wanted to enjoy the racing without distractions. Unfortunately, the distractions, including a phone call to see how Archie was doing at his football match, meant I missed this first bird.
Come on. Rufus, sit. Sit. Come on. Come on. What are you doing?
This isn't uncommon. When a racing pigeon that isn't yours comes back with your bird to the loft, it will usually be too nervous to land, which then spooks your own bird, and in this case means they just fly around in circles for over a minute. It didn't cost me the win, but I certainly missed out in a few places.
Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. That's not ours. So it's come in with somebody else's and it's slowed it right down. Ah! I wasn't ready, I was on the bloody phone.
Just to be sure, I tried to tempt it down, first with food and then with the dog's tennis ball.
Drop. Drop. Thanks. Sorry, Rufus. Your ball's stuck on the roof.
Leaving the poor dog to stare at the roof, wishing his ball would fall down, I resumed staring at the sky, wishing more birds would come back. Once again, becoming distracted as I'd forgotten to put the feed down for the birds when they came home. Honestly, today I'd give myself 1 out of 10 for preparedness and awareness.
Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on.
And that second bird back, as I'd feared, didn't register on the clock, despite locking off the end bob wires. However,
there we go. Yes, he didn't clock. That second one didn't clock, but he's just gone for a drink of water and he's clocked there. So as a backup, that's worked quite well. I'm pleased with that. There's another one. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. There we go. He's on. There's enough, 2 more. Get out of the way. Well, they're both mine, are they? Come on. Yep. Come on. No, you're not mine, are you?
I wondered if the small camera on top of the trap was spooking the birds, that and the ever-present birds of prey. With few other rapid arrivals and a big zoom in my hands, I thought I'd take a look to see what else was up there.
So it's been about an hour since the first bird arrived. I've got 13, so this one just turned up now. We've still got 7 missing, and but it's been a better race than last weekend. So 13 within an hour, that's not too bad, considering that this is their second race back. Shouldn't have taken that holiday really, but you know, you've got kids, family, you gotta do that. So hens seem to have come back better than the cocks today. So it'll be interesting to see the result on the full. When I get the full list back. I think only 1 futurity bird's come back so far, so not brilliant. After we lost 10 at the last race, which was we lost 8 at the last race, which was really not very good. I'm hoping that we get a bunch more back today. So just to keep it interesting, because we're not racing this weekend, I've set the clock. We're gonna run a training setup on the clock. So it's a training toss. So it should tell us which bird comes in first and last. This is one of the reasons why I want a modern clock. So I'll get a text message to tell me which one will be first in. One of the reasons I'd like a better clock is so that when I run this training toss, I can see which bird comes in, and it'll keep a record of it, because once you unplug this, it's gone. Alright, very, very windy. It's just over 26 miles from here, where I am, just north of Doncaster, back to the Loft. It's just gone half past 1, so I'm going to let these go at 31 minutes past. I'm going to let them all go together, hens and cocks, and we'll see how quickly they make it back. They should be fast because it's a real good wind. I'd ideally like to take them about 50 miles, especially because it's going to be a tailwind, so I don't know how much it's going to work them. But this is about as far as I want to go. As soon as you get up there, you end up sitting for 30 minutes, 40 minutes in traffic. I don't fancy that because it's Friday, so let these go and then race them back home. Well, in disaster. Really annoyed. Made a bit of it. Well, I didn't really make a mistake, but this weekend coming is the Futurity race, and the only bird that hasn't come back is an NRCC Futurity bird. All of the others made it back except for that one. Oh, I'm so annoyed. And every time a bird flies over now, I'm like, oh, there it is. So for the Ashby Gold Ring race from Berwick, they've decided to basket today, Thursday, for a race on Friday because of the weather this weekend. Downside of that is they're now requesting that you verify your first bird back within the hour. I'm working Friday, so I'm not sure how I'm going to manage that. We've got 4 birds from 10.
Although we started with 10 entries, we've since lost 6. Birds of note are a cockbird from the NRCC Perth section topper I got from John Lenson, a red-checked Marley cross Bricku from Noel Callahan, and this checker cock that I bred from Charlie's Angel 1983. And as I look him over, I notice some dried blood on his wing. I couldn't see an injury, so I spent some time pondering whether I should send him.
Oh, it's beautiful, Rufus.
This year, the old bird racing season went fairly well. We had a team made up of 2-year-olds and yearlings, and we managed to win some races and earn some prize money. It all helps with the corn bill after all. Today we're racing the Ashby Gold Ring race from Berwick, 180 miles or so to the north, and this is a race we have some history in.
So the 4 Gold Ring race birds have been liberated at 10:15. No wind up at Berwick. It's very, very still. I thought there was going to be some southwesterly, so it might pick up a little bit. That was 10 minutes ago. So I'm going to go into work now for a couple of hours. I've got everything set up, and then I'll come back and hopefully see the birds in, because you've got to verify them by a phone call within an hour of them arriving, which if you work, it's pretty difficult to do. But luckily I'm only down the road, so I'll just have to keep coming back and try and see them in. And these guys are going to Darlington tomorrow.
It's now 2 minutes past 1. I've just cycled like a warrior back from work to see if any birds have arrived. The answer is no. We're not expecting them back yet anyway. We reckon 15:15. If this was a federation race, plenty of birds, then I'd be looking at 15:15 onwards. Probably realistically going to be 2 o'clock onwards. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the camera up there this time, because last time I had it, excuse my yogurt pot, last time I had it up there and I think it spooked the birds. So I'm going to put it on there. I'll hopefully see them come in. I'm not going to get the rest of the cameras out because there's only 4 birds to come, and they could be today or tomorrow. These longer distance races, and they've only been as far as Hexham, and it's 180 something miles today, so good trek for them with the few feathers that they have left. I should have had lights put in the loft, and I didn't. Did it in that loft for breeding, but I didn't do it in this one, and I could have just tricked them into keeping their feathers a little bit longer. But with how cold it's been, we had a frost last night, I don't know how much you can trick them. Oh, there's some over there. This camera won't pick them up. Anyway, let's see how much longer we have to wait. This is the thing with pigeon racing on a Friday. Usually on a weekend, you look at the distance, the condition of the birds, the wind direction, and where the majority of the birds will be heading, and try to come up with an estimated time of arrival based on that. But it's not super important because you can wait around anyway. It is the weekend after all. Today though, I'm restless because I need to get back to work, and there's money on the line, so the birds can't come soon enough, so I have to wait. Then I decide to nip inside to get the camera after all, which is obviously when the first one flies through the top of the screen here. little muted celebration and fist pump was because that bird, the one I thought about not sending the previous day, raced what I thought was a decent time. So that's all four back in within half an hour. Last one just arrived a second ago, so we've got all four. I think it was the first one was the offspring from 1983. Second one was Noel Callahan's. Third one, oh, I've got put the clock away now, but the last two arrived about 10 minutes ago with a couple of minutes apart. So, but yeah, the first one was actually 20 minutes ahead. Something like that, 20 minutes ahead of my first bird, my second place bird. So, you know, we'll see if it's come anywhere in the gold ring race. I don't know how much money's on the line, but we won 150 quid last year with the third place bird. So, and there were only 66 that actually made it to today's race from all the birds all the rings that were sold or registered, should I say? I'm not sure how many. I think it was over 300. And only 66 went. So, yeah, we've got a good chance. The following day was another Federation race from Darlington, and honestly I thought the birds had got lost. Head rush. Even the dropper pigeon fell asleep waiting. Here we go. Come on. Come on. Come on. There we go. First one back. 1909. You took your time. Right, so just got back from the club, and the less we say about that race, the better. Still 2 birds missing, but the rest of them are back. But yeah, not great result. Way behind, absolutely way behind. Well, disaster. Really annoyed. I made a bit of well, I didn't really make a mistake, but this weekend coming is the futurity race for the NRCC and NNRA, and after the race at Darlington I thought, because it was only a 96-mile race, I thought, right, I'll take the birds for one more training toss before this weekend's race, and took them, and the only bird that hasn't come back is an NRCC futurity bird. All of the others made it back except for that one, and it was like 30 miles, that chuck. Oh, I'm so annoyed, and every time a bird flies over now I'm like, oh, there it is. So I've just halved our chances for this weekend, which is, oh, it's just, we started off the season with 3 NRCC birds, and we lost one early doors, and then we've had these 2, and they looked fine. I checked them over, looked fine.
I mean, if it can't make it from 30 miles, it's not going to make it from 200 at the weekend, is it? But, oh God, just... Anyway, at least we won the gold ring race at the weekend, so that's one minor positive, I guess. But so there we are. We've got one bird for the NNRA. I think first prize for that, if you that we could win, is £5,000, and one bird for the NRCC. First prize for that one is £5,000. But I mean, you're highly unlikely to get first prize anyway. But less likely when you've only got one bird. God. So hopefully, anyway, it's been gone for 5 hours now. Hopefully it will make it back. It might have just got mixed up with some others, but I think most people are done training now. Beautiful day. There were a few clouds around, hardly any wind. It should have made it back. All the others did. They all made it back fine. So, and they didn't come scattered. If they'd been hit by a peregrine, usually they'd come in ones and twos and dribs and drabs, and they're a bit nervous, but they were all fine. They all came back fine. So I've no idea what's happened there. 10 to 9. And it's dark. And the moon's out. Well, the outside light's on, but it doesn't look like it's coming back. Yeah, damn it.
The racing season is over. The pigeons have finished their body molt, where they shed their feathers for new shiny plumage, and that means we can now start putting plans together ready for breeding early next year.
A lot of people say they don't like to over-medicate, giving antibiotics and all that kind of stuff to their pigeons because they don't need to, which I agree with. But worming doesn't come under that. So we worm the dog, he gets wormed every month or two. If you've got horses, you worm those. If you've got cows and cattle, you worm those because they've got access to water, a puddle like that, the gutter. We've just changed the gutter on the house. And when I went through that, I could see all like worms, maggots. They're bigger size, not parasitic worms, but there's all sorts in there. Sometimes when the birds come back, they'll land on the roof and they'll take a drink out of the gutter. Yeah, they don't care. The same with that one there, and then they've got wild birds drinking out the same water source. So when you send them off to a race, if they get thirsty on the way back, you don't know where they're going to be drinking, right? So what we need to do is worm them. Now that it's the end of the season and before we start breeding, we'll give them a wormer now, because the only access to any water that they've got while they're locked up in there is the water that we give them. And hopefully what will happen is it'll kill any of the worms inside, but any of the eggs or anything that they expel or parasites they expel them onto the floor, they might end up picking that up, and picking eggs up, and there might already be some eggs actually on the floor that they then consume later. So we've got to make sure that we kill all the worms. Yeah, I'm going to do that. You don't know what a worm is?
I know what a worm is. It's a little creature that wriggles around in the ground.
Say again.
It's a little creature that wriggles around in the ground.
So they're just regular like earthworms, but when we're talking about worming, we're talking about parasitic worms, and there's various different types of parasitic worms. This is a good thing actually. So parasitic worms are tiny, microscopic. We can actually have a look in the microscope. We'll get the microscope out and we'll see if they've got them, and we'll see if we can clear them if they have got them. But what parasitic worms will do is they'll attach themselves. They've got like hooks on their mouths. They're absolutely tiny, and they'll attach themselves to the intestine of the pigeon. This is your calpol syringe. So. Oh no, it's a different nozzle. I'm going to get into that. I'm going to have to pour it out into a... I'll have to pour it out. Okay. You're going to have to pour it into this. Oh no, that's going to take forever. How am I going to get into that? I haven't got the box. I can't get into, look at that tiny little hole. I'm going to get that out. Can't make that up to it, can I? How do I get that out without the syringe?
There's a piece of tape. So you open this up, yeah? Can you open this up? Oh. 6.0 milliliters, and you need to dilute into 2 liters of drinking water and offer to the birds over a 3-day period. Do not allow the birds to drink from any other source.
This separate from the water. 2. I would definitely do this with gloves. And again, so this is how not to worm your pigeons, right? That's what our channel should be called. We're rubbish at it. So I wasn't very well prepared for that at all. Right, let's go and worm the birds.
As ever on this channel, I don't shy away from my own incompetence, so if you're planning on worming your own pigeons, make sure to not misplace a syringe that comes with the bottle.
There we go, all wormed. Right.
Earlier in the year, I got a call from a fancier up in Doncaster. Nigel had seen the channel and invited me over for a visit, and also to discuss plans for his own YouTube channel. Nigel is obsessed with pigeon racing and had lots to say, so a good job I took extra batteries.
That's your motto, what you must always stick to. There's 72 breeding pairs down the left-hand side here.
The first thing I noticed is the size of Nigel's loft. It's huge compared to most lofts I've seen in the UK. The second is his dedication to the sport. He is a fanatic.
So these are basically 12 pairs in each, but the 12 pairs are a different line of pigeons. So in here we'll have a line that's through a certain Leo Herman cock, and every pigeon will be related. The next one's again all related to the same long distance pigeons in here. And then we move on to all sons of Northern Bound in this section. They're all out at Avery's throughout day.
So Northern Bound is?
Northern Bound he was champion pigeon 2 years running in Midland National. He's basically he's a crossbred that came right for me.
Right.
And from that cross and getting that good pigeon, then I start a new line all bred through him. I had a real good pigeon called Steady Eddie, and he were an Artog cock. And wherever you sent that pigeon, he always gave it his best shot. Well, through his children, crossed into pigeons that I bought from Eric Lindbergh, we got Northern Bound. And like I say, what I do is once I get that real good pigeon, then I start my new line all bred through him. I've got long distance. We have sections here for long distance through to extreme distance, which is going into second day racing. But like I say, mainly the Northern Bounds pigeons are mainly based for sprint middle distance. Well, these in here are long distance ends. So these are all the ends that's been sorted for long distance. These range from young ends this time, going through to some of these ends in here 2017 pigeons.
And what did you say?
These are all based for 500 mile onwards.
Right, so these are your extremes.
These are like long distance through to extreme long distance.
Yeah.
When I breed my stock pigeons, I'd rather have a double grandchild of a champion than a direct child. When you're buying them off these people like Battenberg, they've got the ends to pair to these champion pigeons. And I'm a big believer that if you can get that top pigeon coming down both lines of your pedigree, you've got more chance of getting what we're actually looking for from that cross. Yeah. I used to have every year there used to be a bus load came from Ireland, and we used to talk about how I bred pigeons and what have you. And I used to say, listen, they've got to pass the Ribena test. And they'll say, what do you mean by the Ribena test? I said, well, look. And I used to draw my pedigree out. And I said, right, what have you bought there? You've just been to Belgium, you've called here and you've told me you've bought a grandchild out of this certain pigeon. So wife went and she brought me a glass for every part of that pedigree. So I'd got a glass spot pigeon, what they bought, 2 glasses for parents, and so on down to grandparents. I said, bring me all different flavoured drinks that you can think of, what we've got in fridge or in cupboard. And I put all these different flavours into these glasses, then mixed them, and then the final mix, what Pigeon has bought, and we used to call it Ribena, because Ribena were the champion what he were hopefully, breeding to, or buying from. And when it come to tasting it, I said, can you taste Ribena? He says, no. I says, no, because you've got all these different ingredients into it. I says, so what you need is you need Ribena in this part of pedigree, that part of pedigree, and then that's going to come through into bloodline. You've more chance of getting what you're looking for. This fella's the son of Northern Bound. He's breeding a proper, real nice type of pigeon that's coming and racing well for me. But when I was talking before about type, the thing with Northern Bound had come from 100 mile in front of all my sprint pigeons. He'd come to win race, but 9 times out of 10 he'd never go through the door. He'd just fly around like clapping. And that's because of his build. And basically, this cock's exactly the same as him. They're built like sprinters. And when I say breed to type, this is the type of thing I'm looking for, where there's no movement in the pigeon, look. It's chiselled out at the same piece of wood. There's no hinges fitted on him anywhere. He's just a solid, beautiful type that is built for racing. So this is what I'm wanting in my race pigeons. Now, the beauty of this fella is, not only has he got the physical aspect of what we're looking for, he's also got the mental, because he's bred through a middle to long distance family of pigeons.
It's great to listen to other fanciers, their opinions on racing and how they run their lofts. Nigel was clearly very passionate and knowledgeable, and I particularly liked the 3 birds I'm handling here. They were so tame. I don't know if that has any bearing on speed, but handling birds rather than restraining them made me think about how my own birds handle. Some are more tame than others, and just like all aspects of How to Train Your Pigeon, I wondered how much of that was down to nature, i.e. genes, or nurture.
So went to see Nigel Laycock. He's got a massive loft. Went to see Nigel Laycock. His loft up in Doncaster, really impressive. Huge loft, loads and loads of birds, loads of variations for short sprint racing, for long distance racing. Got a full loft visit to watch there. So if you go to Pigeon Racer TV, you can watch the full thing. So subscribe to that channel for sure and watch that there. We've also got a Facebook page. I keep forgetting my lines. We've also got a Facebook page called How to Train Your Pigeon, so if you want to go over to that, there's 3 questions to ask. One of them you might have to Google if you're not from the UK. You might not know what the letters mean.
Ooh, a parcel.
I've actually really wanted some of these because I've got no idea where the birds are going. You know, when you send them for a training toss and then they come back like 20 minutes later than you expect them to, and you don't know why, or they come back in 1s and 2s. I've always thought how good it would be if you could see where they'd been. And I've seen a few people have had these Sky Leader GPS rings, and so what they do is they clip onto the bird's live ring once they're charged up, and then they receive a GPS signal, store that signal, and then when the bird gets home, you take the rings off. We've got a box there. Oh, look at these. I think some of them are dummies. I think they have some dummy rings. Oh, these are real, aren't they? Okay, so we've got 5 in this set.
Instruction manual here.
Yeah. So we've got 5 rings in the set. What I am going to do is I'm going to do a full video of actually using these. Oh, there we go. So that's... Oh, we'll have a look. So we've got that 5 rings, and then some gubbins in there. They must be the dummy rings. So I think what you do is you put the dummy rings on the pigeons first, so that they get used to having this big clunky white thing on their foot, on their leg, and then when they're used to that and you've flown them for a little bit, then you can put these ones on. But I would say put those on the birds that you're sure will most likely come back. So we've got 5 dummy rings and then 5 real rings. I'm guessing this is a way of charging them all at the same time. And then this,
like cookie thing.
Yeah, so we'll put that into there, charge them all on there, and then this will be how you'd get the information from the ring into your computer. So we'll do a video of that on Pigeon Racer TV, I think, and show everybody it working.
Unfortunately, the rings arrived too late for this season's training, but I'll do a full review on Pigeon Racer TV soon.
I need faster racing pigeons.
I've raced pigeons for 3 years now, and whilst I've had some good results, I've only had one bird win anything twice, and that's bird 1998. A few weeks ago, I took the family to the pigeon show at Doncaster, just in case I saw anything that might help the Loft, but also to keep them interested in the sport too. Kids and wives have short attention spans when it comes to pigeons, so we only stuck around for an hour, which was long enough for the kids to get offered some birds to race.
Beautiful bird that is.
Right, so we've just arrived at Doncaster Racecourse for the pigeon show.
Right, see you later, boys. You just wait here. We're just going to go and have a look at the pigeons, and you can pick up a bit.
Curious new pigeon.
That is a very strange pigeon.
I had a look at a brand new Loft without mentioning the price. The thing is, we're running out of room and some tough decisions are on the horizon. More on that later.
So you can see what you're doing where you don't disturb them, right? Because red light doesn't trigger any biological processes like make them molt or whatever.
Back at the Loft, and we have a rare day of sunshine. We've had torrential rain and storms for what feels like months, and so the lofts need a good clean. In conditions like this, the droppings don't dry out easily, and parasites quickly find themselves being ingested back into the birds. So it's important to keep the floors clean and dry. Plus, it's just nice to get the birds in the air for a change.
Come on.
Clean out time.
Well, the new Loft I buy is definitely going to have grills on the floor where all the droppings go straight through. Less time scraping and more time watching the birds fly.
A lot of people don't actually like having the birds flying out this time of year because of the sparrowhawks. But last time I did this, last winter, and I didn't let them out, and the winter before that I didn't let them out, I had an absolute bloody nightmare in the spring when I finally did let them out after they'd reared their young birds, and they were sitting ducks because they'd been in all winter. My view now is let them out at least once a week, once they've been through the molt. So they've got a little bit of muscle to work with, and instinct. In the short time I've been racing pigeons, I've found that birds kept inside all winter make easy targets for the hawks come springtime. So this year I'm trying out weekly flights, weather permitting. One lazy bugger sat on the roof. Who is that? So what tends to happen is if this was springtime, there'd be loads of bloody sparrowhawks knocking around, and getting these in because they're out of practice is just a nightmare, and then they're always fat because they've been in all winter. Come on. So I kind of want to keep them going at least once a week, just to keep them used to the idea that they've got to go in the trap. Come on. You'll end up being sparrowhawk food. No excuse for you guys, you're three. Come on. Well, most of them are in already. Let's give them a treat, a reward for coming in on time. That bird is a late bred. It's never been trained. So the issue I've got is I've got 4 sections. At the moment I've got old cocks, old hens, and then 2 sections for the young birds, yearlings. Cocks in one side, hens in the other. So this is the situation. We've got 12 cocks, old bird cocks in there. What have we got, like 4 3-year-olds, and the rest are going to be 2. And then we've got 14 hens in there, old hens. Most of them are paired to these guys. Then we've got 10 cocks and 10 hens in here, or 6 of them out there. It just doesn't work. I can't get them all, can't get all of those into there to free up this loft for the young birds this year or next year. 20 more birds into that loft isn't going to work. So what do you do? And that's the conundrum every fancier has at the end of the season. I don't think you can judge them after a young bird season alone, especially when some of these are long distance birds. They need to be built up slowly. The 3-year-olds are probably the only ones that I can really say I've given them the best chance. I've actually got one of King Charles's birds in here that we won on a auction. There she is. She doesn't race, she just flies around the loft. We might breed from her this year. I'm going to be very selective in what birds I breed from this year. This is one of Callahan's birds. In fact, most of these are John Callahan's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's just the cocks. So actually we had quite good returns from the long distance birds from John Callahan last year. Half of them basically. Half of the cocks were from him. That one down in the bottom corner, that's the one I bred. That's the one that won the £600 in the gold ring race. I'm going to breed off that one, and I don't know if I'm going to breed off any of these others. I'll let them raise eggs from another pairing, just to sort of tie them into the loft when I bring them in. Because if I don't breed from them, they're going to be less, they're going to feel like this place is less like home, if that makes sense. That's the King Charles bird from his loft. Beautiful looking hen there. But don't know if she's any good. I'm guessing that King Charles didn't have any rubbish birds in his loft, so we might breed from her. Got her quite late in the season, so she didn't end up racing as a young bird. And if I send her this year, I'll no doubt lose her. So we'll pair you up with somebody good. We were thinking about moving next year, 2025, and so with that I thought, well, I better not breed too many young birds because I don't know how long we're going to be here, but looks like that's been put on the back boiler. No, looks like that's been put on the back burner now, a little while. So I want to choose which birds I'm going to breed from, and the birds that I breed from are only going to be birds that have won something or shown real promise, which means most of these guys ain't going to get a look in. This one hasn't won anything or done anything yet, so he's on the line. That one is one of the birds from Belgium, from Alex, down there with the little yellow ring on. And we've got him there. He's a good bird. He comes second in everything, just like the young bird in the other loft. The one that won 600 quid. He's related, both from 1983. That one won the section, North Road, and that one topped the Fed, or the other way around. I don't remember. So there's not really anyone in here that you would get rid of, other than maybe him, the Mealy over there. But he was only a yearling last year, so I feel like we've got to give him chance. But it does raise the question: what do I do about stock birds? Because I don't have a stock loft. Where can I fit a stock loft? Where can I fit a stock loft? Where can I fit a stock loft? Somewhere to fit a stock loft, Rufus. Out in this garden. The reason I say I want a stock loft is because I let the birds that I want to breed from, I'm letting them fly out at the moment just because it's easier. Trying to separate them out before I let the birds go. And knowing my luck, one of them's going to get gobbled up by the sparrowhawk. For stock, I want to put 1983. She's definitely going into stock. And 1998. I think he's proven his worth. And then I've got the
young off of 1983. I've only got 2 birds from her that have raced, and so far they've been really good. But I want to see what they can do as a 2-year-old and as a yearling. So I don't want to put them in the stock loft until they've proven themselves some more. And then we've got the NRCC Perth section topper. Again, should we see what he can do as a 2-year-old? Because he did that as a yearling. Another fed topper as a yearling. See what you can do as a 2-year-old, or do we put him into the stock loft? So, it's complicated. The only way to do this is to go through the spreadsheet and have a look at the results, but then also just look at the birds and see which ones I think have got it in them. But I've only been doing this for 4 years now. This will be my 4th year, 3 years. So what do I know? I might think a bird's good and it not be. But having said that, I did pick out 1983 and her. I thought she was a good bird, and her offspring have proved to be really good. And then I've got the long distance birds from John Callahan, and I probably won't breed from them this year. I'll see what they do as yearlings, because they were only young birds last year. See what they can do as yearlings up into Scotland.
And finally, for the evening, I'm going on All About Pigeons podcast. I really like this podcast. I think there should be more of them. And today I'm going to be doing my piece, so look out for that in the near future.